Greetings, fellow conquerors, and welcome to Steam, where currently there's a sale going on for Halloween, at least here in the US, and people have asked me for a long time what DLC to get for EU4, and this sale seemed like a perfect time to make this video. So, first of all, EU4 itself is on sale for $10, so if you don't own the game yet, or don't own the game legally, this would be a good time to get it. $10 instead of $40 is an extremely nice discount for a game that will provide you with hundreds, if not thousands, of hours. Extremely fair price. Plus, anytime there's a patch with a new DLC or something, you will get that patch for free, and the fact that Paradox supports people like that is great, in my opinion. So I would say, yeah, go ahead and buy the game if you've got $10 to spare. If not, I guess I understand, but at the same time, come on, it's $10. Anyway, so let's get on with the DLC and talk about which ones I think you should get, and which ones I feel are necessary, and which ones I feel like you're kind of just wasting your money. First of all, let's find it here in the list. I believe I already own it. Yeah, so the first DLC that you're going to want to own is going to be Art of War right here. Art of War adds in a ton of very useful features. For example, without Art of War, whenever you occupy a province, you cannot transfer ownership of that province to someone else. So if you've got an ally helping you out in a war and he wins a siege, you cannot take that province because he will technically occupy the province. And, so that is an extremely good feature to have. Art of War adds in a lot of other things as well. Check the wiki, but take my word for it. Of all the DLC, it is going to be the most worthwhile at $6.79. And in my opinion, it is the only DLC you truly need. It is the only DLC you absolutely, in my opinion, need to own in order to play EU4 effectively. The value proposition has changed a little bit with Rights of Man coming out. However, I would still say that the paid features of Art of War are well worth the cost. Now, I do want to go ahead and say that you might disapprove of the fact that they're throwing key mechanics behind DLC, but if you've got the money, I would say it's worth buying because it's definitely worth it. For only $6.80. This, like I said, this is the only DLC you really need. Art of War. You never need another DLC after this. This is the only one that adds in features that I feel are truly a necessary part of the experience. And so if you are buying EU4 plus this, that is a total of $16. Alright, so the second DLC that I would recommend, let me see if I can find it here. This is Common Sense, and I can condense why I think Common Sense is important in one word: development. Common Sense allows you to develop your provinces by dumping monarch points of one type into the province in order to make that province more effective. And, yeah, I would say definitely you want to get this one if you can absolutely afford it. For only $5, if you haven't picked it up yet, now is the best time ever to do it if you already own Art of War, because with development, you can unlock institutions. I cannot stress this enough. When you're playing outside of Europe, the ability to develop your provinces and get an institution to fire sheerly through developing a province is extremely helpful and important. So, yeah, I would say to definitely have this one next on your list. It is not necessary to play. However, playing outside of Europe without Common Sense is very difficult now. Because quote unquote westernizing, while the westernization mechanic is no longer in the game, you still have to worry about the fact that institutions are going to take forever to spread to Asia, and you will have something like a 200% tech malice for half the game. It's awful. I highly recommend you get Common Sense if you want to play outside of Europe. It's only $5, and if you're buying EU4 base plus Art of War plus Common Sense, that's $22 right now while it's on sale. Highly recommend it. All right, next on the list we have El Dorado. I mean Dorado, which is an interesting expansion that like the other expansions, has one major feature in it that trumps all the others. And in El Dorado, it is definitely the ability to make a custom nation. In El Dorado, you can create a nation purely out of thin air that is completely ahistorical, with your own ideas, a dynasty that you make up, and pretty much anything else you could want out of it. And you could even set a difficulty by determining how many points you get to spend on that custom nation. And so for that, if you already own Art of War and Common Sense, I can actually highly recommend this. Simply because it adds a lot of replayability to the game, even though this game already has insane amounts of replayability. And yeah, that's all I really have to say about El Dorado. So let's move on to the next DLC, next major one, which is Rights of Man. Rights of Man came out recently, and it's not on sale, but I wanted to talk about it anyway since it is new. Rights of Man doesn't add any features that older patches had. Like Mare Nostrum and the Cossacks added in features from older DLC, at least as far as I understand. And Rights of Man doesn't really do that. All the same, Rights of Man has some of the best features of any DLC since Art of War. It is extremely useful to have leader traits among some of the other changes that were made in the patch. However, it is $20 and it is by no means necessary. It simply adds flavor and better mechanics to the game, even though the game is already freaking amazing, even in its like vanilla plus Art of War state. So that being said, kind of the elephants in the room. Let's move on to those. First, let's see, where is it? Where are you? Okay, well, we can start with this one. So, Mare Nostrum. Do I think that this DLC is worth it even on sale? Well, not really. The only major game-changing mechanic it adds are these things called trade leagues, which allows merchant republics like Venice to form kind of these coalition alliances with other one province miners, and so they can all kind of defend each other. It's like kind of like a permanent coalition, so to speak, and it's kind of a buff, but at the same time, I don't really feel like this DLC did anything special, and I don't really think it's worth your money even at that price. But if you want to get the full quote-unquote experience of EU4, then it's only $5, so I might as well promote it. And that brings you to the other major DLC, the Cossacks. And the Cossacks is interesting. It adds in some, this system called estates, wherein you have to decide how much of your country is owned by things like the clergy or the nobility, for example. Personally, I find it to be a bit of tedious micromanagement that the concept of I didn't really enjoy it. At full price, $20, I absolutely would not recommend it. At $6.79, maybe. I don't plan on picking it up still, just because I'm not really interested in the mechanics it brings. The other major change that the Cossacks brings is that it adds in this diplomatic feedback system, wherein allies are less likely to betray you if you build up a literal favor point pool. Answering a defensive call to arms is going to give you favors, for example, or joining an offensive war when you're not getting anything out of it means that the person calling you in is going to owe you literal favors that you can use to force them into wars later on. It somewhat makes more sense than the standard vanilla EU4 diplomacy, but personally I don't like it that much because it doesn't really, if you ally someone, in my opinion, then they should be willing to join you. If for example, if you're fighting their rival, wouldn't they want to join you? And if they're not fighting your rival, wouldn't they not want to join you? It doesn't matter how long you've been friends. Historically, alliances could vanish at the top drop of a hat. I mean, but anyway, that's kind of my opinion on the Cossacks. The estates are pretty cool. Not really a fan of the diplomatic feedback system. For $6.79, it's not bad. And of course, as with all of these, your regional equivalent may vary. The last couple of DLC, Conquest of Paradise, if I can find it again. This one's neat if you want to play in North America. Other than that, absolutely not necessary at all. That's one thing I forgot to mention about El Dorado is it actually adds in things for the Central and South American nations to play, which is pretty cool. Wealth of Nations, absolutely don't need. It doesn't really add anything. Res Publica for $169. It basically adds in the Dutch Republic, which is pretty cool if you like to play the Netherlands. And I believe it also adds in the National Focus mechanic. And what National Focus does is it allows you to put 2 points in one category and take one away from the other two. So, for example, you could put Focus on Administration, so you get 2 more admin points per month, but you would lose 1 diplomatic point and 1 military point per month, which is a pretty nice feature for only $1.69. It is extremely cheap, and yeah, I can recommend this one at the price. At full price, not so much, but for the price, it's not bad at all, I don't think. But definitely not necessary either. Apart from that, I think that's the majority of the DLC for this game. The only other things that I can really say, unit packs, completely optional, you don't need them. If you're planning on playing in a nation, or if you like to play Prussia, for example, there are going to be unit packs if you look for them to actually, play those nations. Apart from that, the only other DLC I can really recommend from my own experience is the Guns, Drums, and Steel series. If I can find one of the versions here. there is and basically what these are is it's kind of like a rock metal. Yeah, like here's volume 2, for example. This is kind of like a rock cover of the main songs in the series, and I don't. And what this allows you to do is play them in game. You can listen to them on YouTube, I believe. I don't know if that's like kosher with Paradox or the band that made this track. There is a volume 1 and a volume 2, and it actually tells you, I think, what songs it changes, because I think they add 4 songs each. So 4 remixes for 84 cents. Take your pick on whether or not you think that's worth it. It's normally $2.50. Apart from that, I can't really recommend much. These are kind of my recommendations on all of the patches, and even notwithstanding the prices, I would still say Art of War is necessary to the EU4 experience. Common Sense is also, I would say, for playing outside of Europe. Everything else, completely optional. And only a few of them really enhance your gameplay experience apart from those two, in my personal opinion. So I hope this video was helpful. I hope you guys figure out what DLC you guys want to get, and I'll see you guys on the next one.